Hello and welcome to the Texas Legion podcast. I'm your host Himamalo, and it's great to see you here for our very first edition of the Texas Legion. This is a game that I played with somebody I met on the Legion Discord, and we played a mirror matchup of Empire. I was playing Moff Gideon with the Improvised Orders, the Darksaber, Imperial Officer with Tip of the Spear, Seize the Initiative, Blaster Pistol, and the Command and Control Uplink. Now I chose the Seize the Initiative over Offensive Push because I found it much more useful to have an order on her early, and on the extra rounds that I typically didn't have an order on her, like when I'm playing standing orders round 1. That's a really good turn to have an extra order and able to put that on my Imperial Officer, so I can either put that standing orders order on Moff Gideon if I want to ruthless some things, or put it on the Dewback if I'm up against the 212th with super squads or something, Cassian fleets or something like that. And it gives me a lot of flexibility. And also I found that I don't always need a third aim each round, and it's not necessary. Oftentimes I would have an extra aim left over, or somebody wouldn't be using that aim, and it just kind of feels better as a game when I have Seize the Initiative and not Offensive Push. If I had an extra 6 points, I would definitely put it on there, but I felt like with this list, I have enough aim support, I have enough ability to do what I need to do without having that third aim. Then I also have the Imperial Agent with the Platoon Commander and the Stun Baton and the Combat Armor. Now, the reason I went with the Stun Baton is because I was going with the Riot Baton for a very long time because of the Immune Pierce, and I was running him into Jedi. Now, it's good into Jedi. It holds them up for a round or two, but I often found that they were able to force push me away, disengage away, or do some trick to get away, and I was like, this is not worth it. This is not holding them up. Often Moff Gideon would actually do a better job holding up a Jedi than the Imperial Agent would, and so what I did is I switched to stop going after Jedi and those type of things and actually go after cores. I found that it's really useful to have this guy run into a core or a Bad Batch or a sleeper cell or something like that that is necessarily not amazing in melee, but it's something that I can beat up with this beat stick and imply a mobilize 1 onto them so that they can't get out, and he's way safer with that immobilize 1 on the enemy so they can't run away or withdraw from you. And it's like, it feels just way better oftentimes not using him as an anti-Jedi, but using him kind of as an anti Bad Batch or anti-sleeper or anti-Cassian super squad, because with that surging red defense in the combat armor, he's gonna be able to survive quite a long time, and he surges to crit. So if you're running into something like Dark Troopers or something like that, it's really good into those type of things. The Stormtrooper Riot Squad with Agent Kallus, the KX security droids, environmental gear, and Imperial March. Now I know the meta is E-stims and not E-gear. However, I found that E-gear just gives me a lot more versatility. It keeps things from ruining my game plan when I need to go through difficult terrain or climb over something that's not taller than my silhouette but is difficult terrain, and it keeps my game plan flowing. And it actually worked out in this game because there was a piece of terrain that I needed to get over, and it was difficult terrain, but it wasn't enough like that it had to be a climb, but it was difficult, and having the E-gear kept me from slowing down and made sure that I was able to actually engage the person I wanted to engage. Now, the other 4 core in this list is 2 sets of Stormtroopers, and 1 set of Stormtroopers is T-21s with the Super Squad and Imperial March. And these things are peak Empire units. The crit 2, 13 dice, so good. You have so much aim support from the Platoon Commander, the Imperial Officer. You're almost always going to have an aim, at least one aim, if not more, on them every round, and it's so good. Then you have the secret sauce of this list is the double HH-12 specialists. These guys are unexpectedly amazing. With #uncumbersome, these things are shooting 8 white dice, impact 3, which is better than the T-21 squad. It is range 2 to 4, which is not a big deal because oftentimes you're trying to be in that range 3 band anyways. If you're getting into the range 1 band, you're oftentimes better off just running into a melee with somebody than shooting them with your guys. And so it's really a really good piece to kind of fight against all the armor that's in the meta right now, especially in Texas. We love our armor here, we love our big tanks. And so when you're playing into a 212th, when you're playing into a Tempest Forest or anything CIS right now, having impact 6 at range 3 is so good, especially when you can walk onto the board with an aim whenever you need it. And so I've had several times where I've been able to delete a lat round 1, delete Dark Troopers round 1, all kinds of crazy stuff with these guys, because you're rolling 8 white dice. Statistically, you're going to roll at least 1 crit and 3 hits, and then you have an aim. And so now it's like you're rolling 11 white dice, impact 3. You're going to be doing a lot of damage. You're going to be pushing damage. It's really good. Then I have the Dewback with the Into the Fray and the Flame Rifle, which is really just kind of you have to have kind of piece. It's 88 points, so it's cheaper than the the Snow Troopers with the Flamer squad, because even I feel like it's better in several ways than the Snow Trooper Flamer. One, because it's faster, it's a little bit tankier with the armor 1, and with so many things in my list, it kind of becomes this threat that's not looked at, because everybody's looking at the Dark Troopers or the Super Squads or at my Riot Squad, and they're just ignoring the Dewback, and the Dewback oftentimes will at least get 1 or 2 Flamers off before somebody finally goes, oh, I need to kill this. So the Flamer with the Into the Fray is really good for 88 points. And then I have my Dark Troopers, which I love a fully decked out set of Dark Troopers. These guys are running the Frag Launcher and the Assault Cannon with Program Loyalty. It's 10 health, red saves, you're attacking twice, you're going to be doing damage, and it's very scary. And so if you ignore them, you're going to die. If you shoot them, you're not shooting everything else, and that everything else is shooting you. And it takes so much to kill the Dark Troopers that it's just hard to deal with. So that's my list. Running 10 activations, or 10 units with 11 activations. So I usually will get a pass token into some of the heavier stuff, but I think it's a very good, well-rounded list. And then my opponent from Australia, he was preparing for a tournament there, and he was running a very similar style list to mine, standard Empire list with Moff Gideon, no Darksaber, just improvised orders. Then he had Tip of the Spear, improvised orders, offensive push, command and controlling on an officer. And so a little bit more of the meta officer. And then he's got Agent Callus with environmental gear, and he liked this because of the activation padding, but also the control over his order pool round 1 with another direct, because now he's got 2 direct core troopers, and so he's always going to have orders on his stormtroopers with the DLT-19. So he's 2 stormtroopers, DLT-19s, and 1 Riot Squad. Then he also has a Din Djarin, so he's got a Flame Protector, Din's Jetpack, and the Beskar Spear, so he's got double bounty, which is really good for Din, who can do a lot of cool things and blow some things up, but also with that Flamethrower, it kind of gives him insurance against some of these super squads today. Then he's got an ATST with the Elite Armor Pilot, so he's getting Surge to Hit, and the Twin Light Blaster. Pretty good defensive piece. He's got some good aim support if he needs it with the officer, and so he can do some cool stuff with it, and I like it. I always like seeing ATST on the board. However, I do personally think that they are underpowered right now, that they don't do enough for how much they cost, and just their impact doesn't feel the same as it did pre 2.0. Then you got 2 Dark Troopers with the Assault Cannon and Program Loyalty, so he's running a total of 10 acts, so 10 units, 11 or 12 acts, because he's got the double darks, so 10 units, 12 acts, so he's doing pretty well on his activation count. The game was pretty good, pretty interesting overall. So we got into the game, we ended up on Outflank and Supply Run. I got blue player, and was able to pick the side that I wanted. And we did supply run, and supply run's outflank is really a pretty interesting primary, because a lot of people have different ideas on how it should run and what you should do. I think it's often best to have units who to be your vanguard units who are quick or mobile or are going to survive a long time. So I picked for my vanguard units a super squad, the agent who gave that super squad retinue, and my darks. I made some misplays with my super squad, which you'll see later in the video, but the darks are really good because I can just pick them up and move them if I want. The agent and the super squad are really good because it's, one, really tanky, aim support on the super squad, and the agent's just a nice beat stick, and so it's a threat that you can't ignore. And because the agent's relentless, he can double move, hit something, double move, shoot, so he's always going to be pumping out damage no matter what. And then that super squad has Imperial March, so if I need to get somewhere, I can. And then he chose both of his darks and one of his DL-19 troopers to be his vanguard units, and then I had for my advantage Garrison, and he had Black Ops. Round 1 I played Inexorable Advance because I wanted some extra order tokens, and he played Standing Orders. And so I wanted to make sure I had control of that core, my Garrison core, so that I could ruthless them if I needed to. And then he just had passed out some orders, made sure his ATST got the order so he knew when it went, and then he has the entourage of course from his darks and all that stuff. I moved onto the board with my commander, passed an aim to that super squad, and then took a recover action to get rid of all my suppression, which is pretty nice on that officer to be able to do that. He bountied my officer and my agent because they're probably two of the easier ones to kill. And now that super squad that's Garrison has an aim. So he moved onto the board with Agent Callus, moved out of line of sight, made sure he was far enough away from my vanguard edge to be able to stay out of there. I went ahead and went with my darks because I knew I wanted to try to drag him that way and possibly move my darks away round 2. So I just moved and dodged, and they took a dodge from their retinue, so they have 2 dodges onto the board. He went ahead and did the same thing with his darks on the opposite side and moved dodge. Now his darks are only an 8-man unit, which makes it a little bit easier for me to kill, and he just moved and dodged onto the board with them. So now they have 2 dodges and they're standing out there pretty in the open. And then I went ahead and improved and got the agent. Went with the agent, moved and took a did a double move just to get out of line of sight, make sure he couldn't kill me or see me with something, but giving him some nice places where he can look to attacks. So then he went with his darks, and he did his other darks and moved and dodged on the board. I went ahead and got my darks again, pulled them from the stack. Not much I could do, but just moved and dodged and prepared for round 2, hoping that he might start firing at my darks who have 3 dodges. Unlikely, but it's something. So then he moved on the board with his commander. He didn't really have anyone to pass an aim to at this point, so he just kind of went out there and took a dodge. This is where I made a mistake with my super squad. I thought I could get range of my of his Callus maybe, but I was just way too far. Did not think I could do it, and so I decided, instead of shooting, just to double move up and claim that box, which it did bait him into throwing basically everything he had into that super squad. So the rest of the round is him just basically trying to destroy that super squad, and they're in heavy cover. He's gonna pull Din here, and he's gonna pull Din after the improv, and he's gonna take Din onto the board, and he's just gonna flamer me. I did not realize that I was within a move flame of Din. I totally should have played my ranges better. Definitely learned my lesson here to make sure I stayed out of a single move flame from Din Djarin. I thought I had it, but did not. Ended up losing 6 stormtroopers there. Big hit, down to just the leader and 2 guys there after the ruthless. So they're struggling, but they ended up doing okay. The rest of the round, they took some hits and survived quite well. I pulled my HH12 guys, and those Dark Troopers are within range 3, basically. Moved onto the board, sat the rest of the guys behind heavy cover, made sure they were range 3. Everyone could see 8 white with crit or impact 3. Ended up pushing 5. He dodged 2, which left 4. Ended up pushing 6. Sorry, he dodged 2 and pushed 2. So got rid of his dodges, did damage, killed one of his dudes. Pretty strong. He moves onto the board with Gideon, fires at my super squad, does the damage. Not a big deal. Take expression. So I come on with the Dewback, and I start running this Dewback up the middle. He doesn't really have anything to do, so it's just a nice lumbering middle positioning to take the middle round 2, because now I have my Garrison squad, the Dewback, and then eventually Moff Gideon will be within range as well. He goes ahead and moves his Riot squad up, and he takes a shot at my super squad just as another suppression. I moved on with my other HH12, shot the exact same squad that I shot earlier, made sure I was in heavy cover for the retaliation, and ended up pushing some more damage, and it was pretty good. With that specialist, getting an aim, rolling 8 with an aim, doing a whole bunch of damage, killing all the way down just to the unit leader and the heavy at this point, and that's really good into a dark. So now his darks are looking kind of weak on that flank side, because I can just sit there and aim, shoot, aim, shoot, aim, shoot, and there's not much he can do about it. So he moves onto the board with his DL-19 and starts firing at those super squad. Determined I just have light cover, no longer have heavy cover, and take one more guy, and just now down to the unit leader, who's got a bunch of suppression, and we realize, oh wait, he's holding a box, he needs to drop that box. And so we go ahead and move the box, because it is an asset token. It wouldn't have made any difference at that point, but we just go ahead and drop the box. He goes ahead and moves and shoots with his darks. Yes. Oh, it was my turn, sorry. So I go back on the board with my Riot squad, and I'm measuring out ranges, trying to decide where to go, where do I move with my Riot squad, and I eventually decide I'm going to run into his Dark Troopers, because I think I can control or at least win that side of the board pretty easily. So that's guaranteed 1 point there, which would stop his Vanguard. And so now he's going to be scoring less than me, because I have my Vanguard side pretty well locked up at this point. And so I did some measuring, decided, oh, I can't move there. So let's see if we can go back, because Gideon's still not on the board yet, and they had a face-up order token. I could Ruthless them, and so I'm going to go ahead and see if I can measure. And this is where that E-gear came into play, so that I can Ruthless, run onto the board, into the enemy zone, and melee those Dark Troopers. Pushed impact 3 or 2, pushed a whole nother damage. Now it's just the unit leader, and I did make a mistake here. I should have immobilized that Dark Trooper. It was a big mistake by me, because then he could just withdraw and take a dodge. I should have just immobilized, and then Gideon would have been way safer. I wouldn't have lost so many units, or Kallus would have been way safer. I wouldn't have lost so much. Gideon goes ahead and moves onto the board, because the next thing I want to do is use my super squad to Ruthless. But he has his DL-19 that infiltrates from Black Ops, and he just goes ahead and shoots my Kallus squad out there in open. Does it, pushes 2 damage, not too big of a deal. I have some cover from stuff, and Kallus is sitting pretty with his suppression afterwards. He's not too worried. And then I have my super squad, and I go ahead and move, because he out activates me by 1, and I went first, so he has 2 actions at the end of the round. So I go ahead and look at some measurements, see what I could do, and I take my super squad, I Ruthless them to get them a free move, and I do my second move, which gets me into his POI area with the Imperial March, which is so good. And I go ahead and cohese those guys around, make sure I'm not standing in that difficult terrain. And I'm looking for a shot onto his DL-19. And I have an aim from the commander, and it's just a bunch of dice, 12 white dice, crit 2 into those guys, and it's just gonna do a lot of damage. So 8 with 3 crits in there, so 5 3 crits. He rolls for 6 and he takes 3, just takes average, which is really good. So I'm gonna win that attrition war. He goes ahead and goes with his second set of darks. He moves, shoots Callus, lose a couple dudes, takes some more suppression, not a big deal. Down to the Callus, the riot, or the 2 droids and normal dude. He moves on with the ATST and starts shooting at Gideon. Gideon always rolls pretty mediocre for me. I don't know why, but I feel like he's just not the best when it comes to rolling. Takes 3 damage and suppression, and that's basically the end of round 1. And we move on to round 2, and we look for cards. And this is where I was trying to decide what to do. Do I go moment of consideration, or do I go you have something I want? So 3 pip versus a 2 pip. I knew I didn't want to go with a 1 pip at this point, but I knew I needed to either get off one of Gideon's cards, because I bet he was trying to kill my Gideon next turn. So I ended up going with a moment of consideration to give my darks a standby token, my Mega Squad in the middle a standby token, and my Callus Squad a standby token. He also went with moment of consideration, but he decided to put all of his orders on the Vanguard side, as he was waiting for my Callus to move, and I think he was hoping to blow up my Callus as soon as Callus moved into somebody and swung at them and maybe killed that unit. So he did pretty good on his part. I went up and directed the HH-12 over here and pulled the other HH-12. Went ahead and aimed shot at the gold squad because I could see everyone there. Couldn't see the red guy, he was pretty well hidden, but we decided to take some shots at the gold, start thinning him out. Now it's 3 black, 5 white, still surging to crit or impact 3, and so I rolled 2 natural crits, 3 impacts. He had no dodges, 5 pushing, does damage. It's really good. So he starts rolling at my super squad, takes off this standby. I'm not too worried about that standby. It doesn't really bother me with those guys. I kind of just wanted to get it there so he wouldn't start attacking everything else. So I went again with the HH-12, again on that gold squad, brought it down to just the unit leader and the heavy, and so now his darks are looking bad, looking real bad. And so then he moved with his Callus to pull my super squad off the mark, which is not a big deal because I could just withdraw and move back in to secure that point. He goes ahead and does 2 damage. I'm not too worried. It's not that big of a deal for me. So I'm trying to decide what to do. Do I go with Callus or not? I decided not to go with Callus, but I went ahead and went with my officer. She moved and gave an aim to my dewback and claimed that supply crate so that I could score at round 3 and make sure I can start getting up on points. He ends up going with his ATST, firing at my commander, trying to do some damage. At Gideon again. Gideon just rolls it off this time, takes the suppression, not a big deal. I have my darks. I decided to just go forward, shoot with them into his riots, and try to blow up those riots. I don't want them running into the point. And I tap my frag launcher to make sure it's blast, throw a bunch of damage at him, move, shoot, take 3 down, which positioned me pretty well for the next one. And so then he gets his Din Djarin, and he moves into melee with my super squad that's left, and just goes ahead and takes his swing at them, kills him, Pierce 1, no big deal. And he fires a shot at my darks. It does nothing. I then take my darks and I fire at his 2 remaining core over there, trying to wipe them. I just fire 4 normals at the riots, end up doing enough damage to kill it, and I do 1 damage to the other guys, just putting a suppression on them. Then Gideon goes, and Gideon moves to claim the box. He's got now 2 contesting that point, and his core have already gone, so they can't do anything. I move my dewback onto the middle point, which now means I'll have at least 2 contesting that middle point, and Gideon can move up there as well if I need to. Go ahead and do a crit 1 onto that ATSC, doing the damage, but it's really there just to score points and secure that box. I then have my agent, and this is where things get spicy. I double move with my agent, and I move into Moff Gideon, and I swing my stun baton, pushing 5 damage, and he takes all 5, and that is the end of the game. The game ends right there. He goes ahead and surrenders because there's nothing more he can do at that point. So thanks for watching our first video of the Texas Legion. I hope you enjoyed it, and more content will be coming out, a lot better edited and a lot better quality as time goes on. But thanks for hanging out and being the first to see it. Have a great day.